Just joining me, welcome. My name is Matthew Paetz. I am going to be um, pulling back the curtain today, showing you exactly what it is that you need to know to end the patterns of self sabotage, no matter where you are, no matter if this is the first time you're ever hearing any of this stuff, no matter what the circumstance. This is the foundation to breaking the patterns that are holding you back. All right. So, this little workshop here, we're calling it the Unlock the Potential Within, right? Because if you're here, you know you have the potential to create more, right? To be more, to design the life that you actually fucking want. So that's what we're going to get to, right? And what we're going to have to do in order to accomplish that, to fulfill the potential, is understand how to break free from the patterns of sabotage, right? That are secretly stealing your energy, your focus, your motivation, your self belief, right? Which is going to be a big one, which we'll get into here in a bit. So, in order to do all these things, stick with me till the very end. There's also going to be something that I'm very, very, very excited to share with you. It is a product that I built last year called the S.M.A.R.T assessment. I will share more about what this is later, but just know that this is a product that I partnered with several different companies. They share it with their employees as part of their mental health wellness program. So just know that this tool is 100% legit, and it is designed to meet you exactly where you are and design the protocol that you need to finally break free. Right. So that's coming at the end of this. Stick with me. But for that to work, I want to make sure you understand everything that I'm going to share with you today. Right. So before we get started, I want you to go ahead and grab something to write with. Pause this. If you don't have something close by, go grab a pen, paper, marker, crayon. I don't give a shit what it is. Just go ahead and go grab something that you can take notes with, because this is going to be not just really important. You're probably going to have some things that you want to write down, but also we're going to go through a bit of an exercise here in a minute that I need you to be able to write some things down so that it actually sticks. All right. So pause this if you haven't done so already. Go grab a pen, paper, whatever you need, and come back ready to go. So here we go. Who is this for? Right? This workshop today is for you if you're the kind of person that knows they're capable of doing something great with their life. What I mean by great is relative to you. It's that thing, that drive, that mission, that calling that you know exists for you. Even if you're not clear on what that is, but there's just something in you that you can't shake. That's what we're talking about. So if you're the kind of person that has that knows that feels that, this is going to be for you. Right. And then if you're the kind of person that you know that the life you want is not only possible, but on some level, you know you deserve it. Even if that, doesn't feel true half the time, most of the time, right? On some level, you know you actually deserve the life that you want, right? This workshop is for you. And then lastly, if you are ready to make a real change, right? Change is hard, change is messy. This is why so many people don't do it. And it's why it's been so hard to accomplish up to this point, right? Because it's fucking difficult. So if you are ready to make a real change and become the kind of person who makes their dreams come true, then this workshop is going to be for you, right? So who this is not for, if you fall in any of these three buckets, I'm going to encourage you to go ahead and stop watching right now. Pass this on to someone that actually wants to make some change and build something they're proud of. But this will not be for you if you're the kind of person who doesn't believe that change is actually possible. If you're the kind of person that's saying it is what it is, I'm just like my mother, I'm just like my father, and nothing's going to ever change. It's, if that is the belief you're operating from, then nothing I'm going to share with you today is going to work, because it just won't, straight up. And then if you're also the kind of person that believes that all of your problems are someone else's responsibility to solve, right? It's on someone else to do it. It's not your fault. It's their fault. They're the ones doing this to you, no matter what it is, no matter who they are, be it friends, family, government, doesn't matter, right? If you truly believe that all of your problems are someone else's responsibility, then this is not going to work for you either, right? So just know that straight up. And then lastly, if you believe that other people are worthy and deserving of an amazing life, but you are not, then none of this is going to work for you either, right? And if you fall in that last bucket, I'm actually going to encourage you to stick with me in this video, right? Because by the end of it, you might just believe that it's possible for you too, right? So let's get to it. This workshop is different from anything that you have taken, I am certain, because of this one simple fact, right? All of this is coming from a life lived, right? It's not just some fancy books that I once read or me regurgitating someone else's information, right? Everything I share with you today, I personally have not only put into practice, but I am still practicing each and every day to continue to build the life that me and my wife and my family deserve, right? And these are the tools, these are the foundations that have been responsible for the changes and transformations that I've already been able to make in my life, which we'll get to here in just a moment, right? But my mission today is really to break down the complexities, right, of how our biology impacts our behavior and why it is so hard to create lasting change, no matter how badly you want it, right? Everyone wants to change. Universal fact. Every single human being walking wants to change something, right? But it is extremely difficult to make the change and make it last, right? And there are reasons for that. And none of them are because you are broken, you are weak, you are flawed, you are incapable. None of those are the reason why change is so hard, right? Understand that what we're going to talk about is biological, right? It's happening here, right? It's how we are all designed. That's why I'm so confident that what has worked for me will also work for you. Okay. So is this fair? We're on the same page. I trust that if you're still watching, then you're the real deal and you are ready to take the next step and begin to understand not just the new information, right? But the understanding of how to make the changes and how to make them last so that you can build a life that you're genuinely proud of, right? So let's get to it. Now, if you're just finding me, right? If you're new, why should you listen to me at all? I'm just a stranger on the internet. Well, honestly, that's a very good question. So give you a little context. Again, if we've not met, my name is Matthew Paetz. I have a background in transformational psychology, and I've been working in the trauma space for a little over 10 years. During that time, I've had the opportunity to, and the honor, quite frankly, to work with over 1,300 individuals, navigate some of the deepest and darkest experiences that people can go through, extreme violent backgrounds, sexual, physical abuse, verbal abuse, extreme poverty, you name it. I won't get into some of the grueling details, but I've had the great honor to really be with people and support people through some of the darkest times that they've been through, right? And I can promise you this. You do not get into psychology because you have your shit together. All right. So what does that mean? That means I have my own story, and it's my story that brought me to this work. Right. So I'm someone who, my early childhood struggles included things like sexual abuse from an older male family member, starting around the age of 5 till about the age of 11. During this time, I literally adopted a belief that my purpose on this planet was to be a physical experience for other people, right? There's a lot of things that went into that, as you can imagine, but I truly operated. I was walking through life with that belief, and I wasn't even conscious of it until I was in my late 20s, right? By that time, I had already developed a terrible relationship with money. I've lost over $117,000 of my savings in an attempt to try to build something. And my relationship to money was awful, 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 awful. Still something I'm healing, if I'm being honest with you, right? But I also had low self-worth. I had struggles with anger, right? I'd become very reactive, very explosive when I would get triggered. And, with that, I also had troubles with alcohol. I also was addicted to cocaine for almost 6 years of my late 20s, early 30s, in which at one point at the age of 33 on a drug crash, I nearly took my own life. Right. And I'm not saying that lightly. Again, the context of those stories are for another video. But I share all of this to convey that this work works, right? This picture is a little before and after, bullet pointing some of these things, right? Since this story, I'm now happily married to Allison, my beautiful wife. I'm living with a purpose. I've been able to extract the wisdom from all of that pain, all of that struggle and suffering, and do the work that I'm doing today, helping people like you overcome their versions of struggle. In that I've been able to create a successful business as a trauma coach. Again, the whole reason why I'm here and the reason why you're watching this video is because of this transformation. And being able to do this, being able to teach you the steps and hold the space that you need to create the life that you deserve, that has given my life a lot of meaning. It has given my life a lot of fulfillment, and it has certainly transformed what I believe is my purpose from, what was once a belief that I'm a physical experience and that is all, to now being someone that can, really hold space and help cultivate transformation inside of you and inside of anyone that might be, coming in contact with this video, and really creating a business that my wife and my family can depend on, allowing us to create something that we're all proud of, right? So I'm a walking testimonial that this work works, right? So with that being said, you are here for you. So if you haven't done so already, grab a pen, grab a paper, because we are about to get into the meat of this thing. And again, if you stick with me till the very end, there is a resource that I'm going to be offering you with a really special bonus that will become your personal, and I mean personal blueprint, right? It is mapped specifically for you. It's not a one size fits all. All right. So let's get to it. The core of today's message, everything I just shared with you, the core of today's message is simply this: your past does not define your potential, right? Your past does not define your potential, no matter what you've come from, no matter what you once believed to be true about yourself and what you are worth or what you are capable of, whatever those things were, they do not define your potential, which means they do not define your future, right? Sometimes I promise you, it's those that have been through the worst, those that have struggled the longest, that actually make the biggest transformations and essentially the biggest impact. All right. So here we go. I also have a belief. I have a belief that we all possess two lives, right? The first life is the one you were conditioned to live. This is the one that was conditioned by your upbringing, by your environment, by your circumstances, by the traumas, the challenges, all of the things, right? There is a life you were conditioned to live. And then the second life is the one you are meant to live. This is the one that you're coming in contact with right now, not just in this conversation or this workshop, but it's that thing that drove you to subscribe to this, to invest your time into learning these things, because you know that there is a bigger, better, more successful, happier version of life that you are meant to be living. And that is exactly the life that I am on a mission to help you create. Right? That's exactly why we're here. So let's get started. Let's have some fun, y'all. Here we go. So first things first, let's understand Gleacher's formula for change. Gleacher is a gentleman who, if you are familiar with the principle of the lean method, it's something that's taught widely in business and entrepreneurship. Essentially, David Gleacher is responsible for creating this formula that he was able to extract from hundreds, if not thousands, of conversations working with entrepreneurs and people all over the world. He recognized this formula was true in each and every human being that he worked with. And this is the formula that is also true for transformation, because it's essentially what it was, right? It's a formula for transformation. So let's understand what that formula is and where you are in relation to it so that we can leverage it to get to where you deserve to be. So, first things first, right? Change. You want this. There is something in your life that you want, right? That you want to change. Like I said earlier, every single human being walking wants to change something about their lives, right? So we all have this desire to change. But in order to change, there must be a dissatisfaction that is so intense that you can no longer stand to live the way that you are living. You can no longer be okay. You can no longer accept the ways that you have been doing it up to this point, right? So the intensity of the pain, essentially, the dissatisfaction, is what is required. It's what must be there. It is what we leverage in order to create the change that we ultimately want, to begin living life in a way that you are proud, that you are fulfilled, that you are successful, all of those things, right? So there must be dissatisfaction if you're going to change. But more specifically, a dissatisfaction that has become so intense, you are now unwilling to accept it anymore, right? Then first steps, right? I got you on this. That is what this workshop is. It is the first steps, right? So you have there's something you want to change. You have the dissatisfaction. What you need are the first steps. That is what I'm going to help you support. That's what I'm going to support you with today, right? Then we'll beat this together. Resistance, right? This is the core of what we're going to understand today, which is self-sabotage, resistance, avoidance, right? Something that I am certain you're experiencing up to this point. Hell, it might even be coming up as we're going through this workshop, right? I'm almost willing to guarantee it will at some point, right? You're going to have that feeling of wanting to quit, wanting to stop, whatever it is, right? That is the resistance we are here to understand so that you can overcome it, right? So now we got to create this, your vision, right? What is that direction? What is that North Star? What is it that you ultimately want to accomplish in your life? It's not what I want for you. It's not what your mom or your dad or your friend or your coach or whomever wants for you. It's what you want for you, right? So let's get started. I asked you earlier to grab a pen. So if you haven't done so, do that now. But I want you to write this thing down, right? And feel free to pause, take your time, take as much time with this workshop as possible, as you need, quite frankly. But for this to be effective, I want you to come up with this, right? The very first thing that comes to mind when I ask, when you imagine your life 1 year from today, from this very moment, right? 1 year from today, what would you have to accomplish to feel like this year was a success for you? What's the first thing that comes to mind? What would you have to accomplish to feel like this year was a success for you? And I'm very intentional about the time frame of 1 year, right? Because it's farther enough away, or it's far enough away that it allows your mind to expand, right? But it's close enough that you know that if you're going to accomplish it, right, you got to start taking some action. You got to get to work, right? So 1 year is very intentional. What would you have to accomplish by the end of this year to feel like this was a success for you, right? Now, I trust that you have something that's come to mind. You've written it down because it is necessary to complete the next steps. So when you think about that goal, what is the biggest threat, right, to you accomplishing that? What is the thing that is most likely to derail you or sabotage you, right, from being able to accomplish that goal, right? And it's the same for each and every one of us, myself included, right? The biggest threat to that goal is always you, but more specifically, not who you are, right? None of that stuff, right? Not your worth, not your value, not your abilities, not your potential. None of that is what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about specifically is it is your past conditioning, the patterns that you have adopted or developed to protect yourself from the pain, from the struggles, from the opinions, the expectations that were put on you most likely when you were very young, right? So it's the patterns that you've created to protect yourself from the pain, from abandonment, from rejection, from failure, right? It's the patterns that you have developed to protect yourself from those things, those experiences, from that discomfort, right? That is most likely to be the reason you do not accomplish the goal that you set out. It is the reason you've not been able to accomplish the things that you want thus far. It's the patterns, right? You are not broken. You are not flawed, right? You are not a failure. None of those things, right? This is biological, not logical, right? This is happening in if I'm being honest, it's your nervous system. It's the limbic. It's the part of the brain that is responsible for protecting you on an unconscious level, right? So let's make sense of this. What is self-sabotage, right? So self-sabotage is quite literally just self-protection. Self-sabotage is self-protection. Or another way I can say that is self-sabotage is self-preservation, right? It is protecting the version of your life that you are currently living because it's that version that feels safe, that is familiar, that is predictable, that has love and connection and family and friends and all these things, right? So you are wired to protect the current version of life that you actually have, right? Because anything outside of that life is unknown, it's unfamiliar, which means it's unpredictable. And if it's unpredictable, right, biologically speaking, you don't trust it. You fear that you would not be able to survive it, right? Which is why it takes so much courage to begin making change and doing things differently than we've done them up to this point, right? So let me read this if you haven't already. Many self-sabotaging behaviors are actually adaptations from your early childhood, meaning you evolve, you almost shapeshifted to meet the environment that you were being raised in, right? You were malleable, right? You molded is the word I've been looking for. You molded to the environment in which you were being raised, right? And these are designed to protect you, right? Again, it's how you survived when you were young in the environment in which you were being raised. So during that time, your brain learns that these strategies help you navigate the environments where things like speaking up, right? Taking risks or expressing emotions may not have felt safe, right? So if wearing what you wanted to wear when you were young, you got in trouble, you got ridiculed, you got grounded, all these kind of things that you may have experienced when you were young, right? You may have adopted a belief, a feeling, a pattern that says, hey, I'm not allowed to express myself authentically because when I do, I get in trouble. When I do, I get punished, right? So you adopted this pattern, this belief that you are not allowed to express yourself authentically, right? So that pattern is going to show up as when you're an adult, when you are pursuing art, when you're pursuing dance, when you're pursuing relationships, when you're pursuing businesses or creating anything, right? That is authentic to you. That protector is going to show up and say, don't do this. You're going to fail. You're going to get in trouble. No one's going to like it. You're going to look stupid, right? So on, so on, so on, so on, so on, so on, right? That is what I mean. That is your pattern of protection, right? So remember, self-sabotage isn't a flaw, right? It's a form of survival. It's a highly evolved, highly effective strategy to protect yourself, right? And when you understand this, you can begin approaching yourself with the compassion that you deserve rather than the criticism that you've endured. Okay? Does that make sense? It's the compassion that's going to help us make the change that we want, make the transformations that you deserve, create the life that you're capable of, right? Compassion, not criticism, right? No one ever criticized their way to a better life, ever, I assure you. So, can you relate to this? Imagine you had a big idea, right? An aha moment, a business you wanted to start, a song you wanted to write or sing, or something. It doesn't matter what it is, right? A video you wanted to post. You get this idea. You say, "I got it. I know exactly what I need to do." Right? You watch a workshop, maybe something like this. You see someone else do it, and you're like, "That's what I want." And you get really excited because there's a part of you that knows that that lit you up, right? You can do it. Then you start to take the steps, right? You start to write the song, you start to record the video, you start to whatever it is, right? And you're struggling, you're starting to get in your head, you feel like you're making a bunch of mistakes, all this kind of stuff, right? And then you're saying, "Damn, why do I always do this to myself? I always effing do this. Every single time I go to do it, I stop. I can't follow through on anything," right? And then you have this thought that follows, something like, "Maybe I'm just not good enough to do this. Maybe this isn't meant for me. Maybe people like me don't succeed. They don't fall in love. They don't get healthy, right? They're not smart enough, strong enough, young enough, old enough, rich enough, whatever enough," right? And then you stop. You quit, right? Until the cycle repeats itself, right? A few days, few weeks, few months, whatever it is later, you have another aha moment, right? You get super inspired, you get super excited, you go take the first few steps, you start to struggle, you hit that wall of resistance, that self-sabotage, right? Those negative thoughts, and the cycle repeats itself, right? So here's the truth about that, right? You get excited about whatever it is because deep down, you know it's for you. You know you're capable. No one's ever gotten excited about something they didn't think they could actually accomplish, ever, right? You don't think about things that you genuinely don't believe you can do or that you genuinely have no personal interest in. They don't get you excited, ever, at all, right? Maybe building a rocket isn't your thing. So the idea of building a rocket doesn't excite you. It might sound cool, but you really don't give a shit, right? It's not your thing, right? Or maybe it is. I don't know who, maybe it is. But you know what I mean, right? Then the patterns of protection begin, right? You start to pursue that truth, right? It's going to challenge you to go outside of your comfort zone, learn some new skills, do some things that you're uncomfortable doing, do some things that might disappoint or confuse the people that are closest to you, right? So they might give you some shit for it, right? Criticize, ridicule, whatever, right? And then you self-sabotage out of fear and discomfort with that change, right? Something inside of you says, "This is too risky. This is too scary. I'm out. Not going to do it. I'm just going to go back to the life I've been living, go back to the friends I've been hanging out with, go back to the family that keeps giving me shit every time I see them," right? Because this is who I am, right? And then your old limiting beliefs use this, your ego uses this as further evidence to keep you stuck in what is old and familiar, right? It's further evidence that you're not capable, is what your ego is doing. It's saying, "See, told you so. There you go again. Told you," right? That old pattern keeps playing, that old record, right? It uses the challenge as further evidence, when in fact, that discomfort, that disruption, that doing something outside of your comfort zone is what it feels like to grow, right? Something I didn't put on the slide that's very important to understand is there is a difference between what is uncomfortable and what is unhealthy. Unhealthy takes away from what you want. Uncomfortable is what you feel when you're pursuing what you know is for you, but it's requiring you to step outside of your comfort zone, right? That's uncomfortable. Unhealthy is stealing from your potential, right? It's stealing from your future. It's keeping you stuck, right? Now, when do we self-sabotage, right? How we self-sabotage might be different. How you do it might be different from me, right? How I do it might be different from you, right? But why we do it is exactly the same, right? And here are some of the most common reasons we sabotage our progress, despite how badly you want to change or you want the result, right? So stress, right? Stress will trigger self-sabotage because stress is really uncomfortable. So we will revert to the behaviors that give us immediate pleasure or relief, right? Because it's soothing. It's like a pacifier for an adult, right? That's what our self-sabotage really is, right? Fears of failure, again, extremely uncomfortable, triggering, right? When we're triggered, if we don't know what's going on, if we're unconscious to it, we're gonna retreat. We're gonna go back to what we know works, which is, all the behaviors that are, again, stealing from ourselves that we call sabotage. Uncertainty, again, discomfort, unfamiliar, unknown, unpredictable, triggers self-sabotage. Identity, right? This one's the real one. This one's deep, right? But this is a conversation for another day. But identity, who do we believe we are at our core, right? This is going to stem from where you come from. It's going to stem from that conditioning. Are you the kind of person who? Do people like us do those things? These are identity statements, right? Fear of judgment. Again, changing. It's going to trigger a lot of people, right? And they're going to be the ones closest to you that have known you the longest. They're going to be the ones that say, you're doing what now? Who do you think you are? Oh, you think you're smart? You think you're special? Oh, you're going to be fancy now, right? All these, by the way, those are all things that I literally heard when I started making changes. So I get it. And then the other one, imposter syndrome. Holy shit, has this been a thing of mine, right? Big, 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 big time, right? But what imposter syndrome truly is at its core is the feeling or belief that you're not enough of something to achieve, have the thing that you're pursuing, right? And then the fear of success. This is true in many of us, right? And it's confusing because we think to ourselves, well, success is what I want. Why would I be afraid of it? Well, what the fear of success actually is the fear of abandonment. Because again, all those people that are judging you right now for the changes you're making, well, if you continue to push through, many of them are not going to be able to keep up with the changes, right? If you are hanging out with 5 broke people and all of a sudden you start making a lot of money, those people are going to struggle with that growth, right? And it's going to start becoming very uncomfortable for them and you, right? And them, although they're your friends, if they can't keep up, if they don't understand why you want to make positive changes, why you want to stop drinking, why you want to stop smoking, why you want to get healthy, why you want to start a business, right? If they can't relate to that, then they're going to start to reject. They're going to start to abandon, distance themselves, right? So fear of success is the actual fear of abandonment, which is why you need support. People who are doing what you want to do, accomplish what you want to accomplish. It's why you're here. People like me have been through it. I understand. Come hang out with us on this side. Promise you it's better, right? And then the last one, instant gratification, the dopamine trap, right? This is what we're going to get into today, the dopamine trap. Trust that how you dopamine is how you sabotage, right? So how do we know when we're self-sabotaging? The most common sign of self-sabotage, no matter the behavior, is avoidance. Are you avoiding something because it's uncomfortable, right? Because it's confronting. Avoidance is the number one indicator that you are sabotaging your potential, right? If you're avoiding going to the gym because it's too far, you're too tired, it's whatever, right? We often call these excuses. But if you're avoiding, you're in a state of sabotage. Not because what you're doing is wrong, but because it's keeping you from what you could accomplish. It's keeping you trapped in that belief that it's impossible for people like you, right? So you're in avoidance anytime you're procrastinating, overthinking, you're hypercritical, giving yourself a lot of shit, you're your biggest hater, right? AKA perfectionism, right? These are all signs of avoidance that all of us, again, myself included, still navigate. So this is the cycle. This is the cycle of your sabotage, starting at the top. So you have an uncomfortable emotion, fear and anxiety, an overwhelm, a sense of guilt, shame, whatever it is, right? You have this uncomfortable experience inside of you, this internal discomfort's where I keep going over this, right? So it's called cognitive dissonance in psychology, right? It's this like, it almost feels like pressure happening inside of your body, right? That you want to release, right? You want some relief. right? So you have this uncomfortable emotion, right? Which triggers, often unconsciously, the behavior that gives you the most relief the fastest, which is probably the behavior that you are starting to feel like is sabotage, that you are starting to want to change pretty desperately, right? And it can be anything, right? It's different for a lot of people, right? But you're going to have an uncomfortable emotion. It's going to trigger you to do or tempt you to do the thing that is keeping you stuck: drugs, alcohol, scrolling, pornography, that ex you shouldn't hang out with, spending money that you shouldn't be spending. The list goes on and on and on, right? And then you're going to do the behavior, and it's going to lead to guilt and shame, right? I always do this. Why did I do this again? I'm such an idiot, blah, 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 blah. Those are also really uncomfortable emotions to have, really uncomfortable states to exist in. So what do we do when we're uncomfortable? We need relief, right? Insert more sabotage. Either more of the same thing, or you stack a few different things now, right? And but whatever it is you're avoiding, right? You're running, keeping you stuck. And then the cycle just repeats itself over and over and over and over again, right? My guess is you're nodding your head yes to this because you understand exactly what I mean, right? So let's get to the how. How do we sabotage? How does this happen, right? So the biggest threat to your goals in today's modern world is what I call cheap dopamine, aka instant gratification, right? What do I mean by cheap dopamine? Cheap dopamine behaviors reinforce a cycle of instant gratification that derail you from the long-term rewards, the results you want, the life you deserve, right? Of meaningful work, relationships, and personal growth, right? Anything that gives you immediate gratification, immediate pleasure, is going to hijack your potential, right? And again, this is biological, right? These behaviors provide the illusion of satisfaction that fades quickly after the behavior is over, right? Often leaving you feeling empty or dissatisfied, right? You're feeling that ick after you've done the thing yet again, right? Over time, this cycle can lower your resilience. It reduces your motivation, right? And it weakens your ability to focus on more challenging yet rewarding pursuits, right? So, for example, maybe TMI for some people, but again, if you know me, you know I'm transparent and 100 about my own experience, which is why I do the work I do. Given my sexual abuse, all these things, sexual addiction, I was addicted to pornography for the large majority of my life, right? From early grade school all the way up into my 40s, right? Very recently have I been able to kick this habit. This was my cycle, right? I would have the fear of discomfort, failing, never enough, grief, all the things, these extreme anxieties, right? What I would do, right? I could engage with pornography, and through that experience, I would get immediate relief from the pain and anxiety that I was feeling, only to once the behavior was done, shame, guilt, disappointment, disgust, I'd have the ick about myself, about things, right? Immediately, I would be more depressed, right? I'd be more ashamed, right? Because immediate relief equals immediate fall, depression, right? So what does this look like? Uncomfortable emotions. It's not self-sabotage. You seek quick relief, right? Cheap dopamine means you get the reward with no effort, right? Guilt, shame, immediately when the reward is done, right? Or the behavior is done. And then what do? Well, guilt and shame is very difficult, right? It's a heavy emotion. No one wants to carry it. It's extremely uncomfortable. So you seek the relief again. Again, all of this is happening unconsciously. So here's a quick little diagram to help you understand the difference between healthy and cheap dopamine, right? So on the left, the blue line, this is what it's supposed to do, right? Again, this is biological. This reward system evolved inside of us many a generation ago, right? When we used to hunt, gather, live in caves, the whole nine, right? So what would happen is when we would pursue things like hunting for food, mating, right, for procreation, preparing for battle, right? These kind of things, we would do the very difficult things to prepare to go and pursue the rewards that would keep us alive, right? That's what this is designed to do. Reward you for doing the hard work that keeps you alive. Hard stop, right? So you begin the hard thing. And by the way, flow state right there takes about 15 to 20 minutes of uninterrupted focus on the task before you start to get out of the resistance, that feeling of wanting to quit, and you start to tap into flow state. You start to feel excited. You start to feel motivated. You start to, you're hooked is really what it is, right? So you do the thing, you accomplish the hard thing, you post the video, you finish your workout, you finish the meal that you cooked at home. You had a hard conversation with your spouse, right? That brought you closer together because you finally connected on something real, yada, 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 all the things, right? And then the recovery, the come down is slow, right? It's like landing a plane, right? It's easy, right? There's no crash. It's natural. And then on the right, you have the cheap dopamine, right? And by the way, this line here in the middle, the baseline, this is homeostasis. This is comfort. This is what your body is constantly trying to accomplish, right? So what cheap dopamine does is there's a very quick spike in pleasure, right, or relief, and then as soon as the behavior is done, there is a cliff, right? You fall, and like anything else, what goes up must come down. So the faster and higher it goes up, the faster and further it's going to drop. And what happens is you drop below baseline, this feeling of contentment, feeling okay, stable, right? And anywhere below this baseline, the deeper it goes, the more intense the feeling of depression, guilt, shame, low motivation, you're discouraged, you're spiraling, right? So that is what happens. That feeling, when the behavior is over, is your dopamine crashing. Okay. Now, here are the 12 most common sources in the modern world for cheap dopamine, right? My guess is you are engaging in at least one of these, perhaps many of these, like I do and have, right? So this is something to be aware of, not something to beat yourself up over, right? But the 12 most common sources of cheap dopamine, instant gratification, are mindless social media scrolling, right? These apps, they're designed to keep you hooked, right? Cheap dopamine. Binge watching TV, Netflix keeps you hooked, right? Junk food, sugar, salt, fat, all of these things, high processed, they're designed to give you immediate gratification, right? They keep you hooked. Shopping, right? The retail therapy, online shopping is so easy today. You don't even have to pull out cash. You don't even know how much you're spending. You're just pressing buy now, right? It's wild. Again, terrible relationship with money, working through that as we speak. Video games, gaming apps, again, designed to hijack your dopamine, right? Drugs, right? This goes without saying. Drugs hijack your dopamine, right? Immediate gratification. Pornography, instant gratification-based relationships, friends with benefits, the people you call after midnight just because. That's what this is. Gambling, right? High dopamine activity. Endless news consumption, right? Headlines, shock and awe, right? They are designed to hijack you. That's what they do, right? Then frequently checking emails and notifications on your phone, right? Take that shit off your phone. I promise. And then gossip, drama, talking about other people it's a high dopamine thing, right? It's instant gratification. It requires zero effort to talk shit about people, zero effort to tear someone down, right? A lot less effort than it is to build something that you care about, build something meaningful, put yourself out there, right? And then lastly, alcohol, another form of cheap dopamine, right? So these are the 12 most common ways that we sabotage ourselves. Now, how? These are the two additional ways that we self-sabotage without even realizing it, right? First off, you lack clarity, direction, right? There's no direction, no goals, no mission, no purpose. You lack clarity, you're going to seek pleasure. Without purpose, pleasure. You lack structure. You might know what you want, but you're all over the map, right? You don't have a system in place. You don't have accountability. You're not tracking, right? A lot of these things create systems and structure for you to get the results that you ultimately want. Dickie Bush here, one of my favorite writers online. He teaches writing. I followed his work for a long time. He's a multimillionaire, self-made, all the things that you would probably, wish to become in some way, right? But what he says here is you continue to self-sabotage because the dopamine from your vices outweigh the dopamine from your internal approval, right? You're doing things that give you relief instead of things that make you feel proud, is ultimately what he's saying, right? So let's get to how do we stop. This is where the rubber meets the road, right? Now I'm going to go through this kind of quickly, but I want you to write this down. So feel free to pause as much as you need, right? How do you self-sabotage? First thing you're going to have to do is establish a reason deeper than the fears, deeper than the discomfort, that dissatisfaction from Bleacher's formula. You're going to have to identify a reason that is more important than avoiding that thing, right? It's what we call your why. So grab something to write with, because here we go. Remember that one goal, that thing that you needed to accomplish by the end of this year to feel like this was a success for you? Write it down if you haven't done so already. What is that one specific thing, right? Once you have that down, again, pause if you need a moment, but I'm going to switch slides now. Write this down, whatever comes to mind first. Why is that thing important to you? Why is accomplishing that important to you? Right? Write this down. And pause this video before we go to the next question until you're done, right? So once you have that written down, I trust that you've written down why that's important to you. Next question. That thing you just wrote down, why is that so important to you? What is it about that thing that matters to you so much, right? So we're going to layer deeper here. So pause the video, take a minute to write this down. All right, I trust that you have something. Here we go. Next question. So you're two layers in now. Third layer deep. Why does that second thing you just wrote down? Why does that matter to you so much? By the way, at this point, you're probably getting starting to feel some resistance, starting to get a little frustrated potentially, right? That's when you know you're getting to the root of what matters. That's when you're getting to the thing that we can leverage so that you can accomplish what you ultimately want and deserve. Right? This is the point where people start to curse. This is the point where people start to get frustrated, right? Trust it. Why is this so important to you? What is it about that thing that matters so much to you? And the fourth layer deep, same thing. Why is that third piece so damn important? Right? And if you're still with me, right? You are now at the core of why it matters, right? It's probably simple. It's personal. It's deep. It hit you here, right? That is your why. That is your North Star. That is your jet fuel for the rocket that you are building right now, right? It's that why. For me is I refused to be a failure. I refused to be a burden on my wife, right? That mattered so much to me that I would do whatever it took to break through the patterns that I was struggling with, to break through the addictions, to break through the limiting beliefs, all the things that I shared with you earlier, right? It was that just unwillingness to be a burden on the person I love the most, right? So once you get to this point, right, you have your clear goal. You know why you want to accomplish that. What's the reason? Now, I want to give you this little exercise. Take this tool, write this down. From today moving forward, I want you to start asking yourself this question, right? And I don't care if it's what you're going to eat for lunch after this, or breakfast, or dinner. I don't care if it's what shoes you're going to wear with the outfit. I don't care if it's, are you going to reach out to that person that you know could help you build the thing that you want? I want you to continue to ask yourself this question. At the point of any resistance, the point of starting to engage in scrolling, starting to engage in pornography, starting to drink, starting to whatever the thing is that you want to break, right? When you start to do it or feel tempted to do it, ask yourself this question. What would courage do? What would courage do in this moment? Right? That's the key. And it's not about perfection. It's about following what comes up a little more frequently, a little more often, right? Because if you continue to do what courage would do, you're going to become someone who is courageous. You're going to become someone that you are proud of, right? So, what would courage do is a question that has the ability, has the power to transform your life. I promise, right? So, we're almost done here, right? Just a couple more slides, but this next piece is really important. I want you to understand this. Again, this is all about biology. I'm oversimplifying because I want you to be able to put it into action today. So here's an acronym that I want you to remember, right? The acronym is HALT, HALT, right? What it stands for is hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. Anytime you're feeling one or more of these is when you are most susceptible to sabotage whatever it is that you're doing, right? This often happens at night when you have been drained, you've been working, you've worked out, right? You're hungry, you're tired, you're exhausted, the kids, the wife, the boyfriend, the whatever it is, right? You're exhausted. When you are tired, angry, hungry, or lonely, you are more susceptible to engage in whatever behavior that you are trying to stop, right? So this is your trigger. This is your self-awareness exercise. Am I hungry? If so, maybe get something to eat before you do the thing. Am I angry? Take 30 minutes, disengage, walk, breathe, literally breathe, right? Journal, whatever your thing is, just relax to the best of your ability, right? Before you make any decisions. If you're lonely, reach out to a friend. Instead of engaging in that behavior that you're ashamed of or you don't want to do anymore, call a friend, text someone, right? Connect. If you're tired, maybe it's better if you put the phone down, take a beat, close your eyes, try to take a nap, right? Go to sleep. All of these things, I promise you, when you wake up in the morning, if you follow through, you will be proud of yourself, right? So that is it for the workshop. I trust that you have gained something of value out of this. I trust that you have some exercises that you can now put into place. Again, these are the very ones that help me get over my addictions. These are the very ones that help me navigate my anger. These are the very things that I use still to this day to continue to push my own boundaries, to evolve and become someone that I am proud of, right? Now, I promised at the top of the conversation today that I would be offering you a tool, something that is specific to you, right? This is the very thing that I have partnered with several companies of some with hundreds of employees that offer this as a part of their mental health program because it is so effective, right? So this tool is designed to identify the specific patterns of behavior that are holding you back, right? And what I call it is the S.M.A.R.T assessment. It's an interactive assessment that all you have to do, right, is fill in the answers, right? It's going to guide you on questions, right? It takes about 15 minutes to complete, not that long, especially for what you get. It is phenomenal, right? But all you have to do is brain dump on your answers, right? Just give it everything, as messy as it feels, doesn't matter, right? Just share whatever comes up with each question. And within 15 minutes, it's going to produce a personalized 30-day protocol, a step-by-step action plan designed specifically for you, for where you are, what you want to accomplish, right? And how to get it. Right? It is designed to meet you where you are, specifically around your capacity, right? What is that thing that you are most capable of being able to accomplish, right? And it's going to give you a 30-day step-by-step protocol designed to help you not only transform, right? The patterns that you're trying to quit, change, but to accomplish what it is that you want most in your life, right? So $97 is the price that it normally costs. This is what it costs the companies, each and every person that takes it, right? It's $97. But because you've watched this video, you've watched this workshop, you're getting it today for $27, right? All you have to do is press the link below this video, right? And it will take you directly to the checkout page where $27, 15 minutes, you will get a 30-day protocol that if all you do is follow it, if all you do is practice what comes up, I guarantee you it will transform your life, right? Just put it in practice. I promise, right? And there's also a 30-day guarantee. So if you have any doubts, whatever, take it. Zero risk, right? I know this works because I've lived it. I know this works because I've helped over 1,300 people make the transformations that they ultimately wanted to make in their life. I know this works. So I look forward to seeing you on the other side. Thank you so much for giving me your time today. I am deeply honored that you spent an hour with me this afternoon. And I just want to first and foremost say thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for trusting yourself. Thank you for being exactly who you are, because that is what this world needs most. Your friend, your teammate, I'm checking out. Take care, y'all.